right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another video. All right, y'all, so some of y'all been asking me when this fight was going to take place. Well, here it is. It's going down Friday, November 29th. Dakota Ditchcheva versus Taila Santos for the PFL flyweight belt and the $1 million. It's going down, y'all. Look, I'm ready. Y'all are ready. I know this is the main event for the WMMA fans. It's going down. So, yeah, real quick, let's talk about this one, this first look. Dakota, I know a lot of people that hung up on her. And some people, I feel like they want to hype her up a little too much. But look, we got this one fight to see right here. You know, look, I think if she goes in here and wins this fight, I'll be honest, I'll put her on that threat list for sure. Even though she ain't signed to the UFC, then I'll stamp her if she's able to win this fight. But let's not jump ahead. Like I said, people are still hyping her up too much. Look, I definitely want to see her tested in this fight because, look, I do believe in her striking. I like her level of striking. The more I watch it, I do think that she's bringing some type of threat to Taila Santos. She has good power, good skill set all around, good fundamentals. I love to watch her now. You know, she's entertaining, but you got to have those opponents to back up the skills. That's all I'm saying. Look, before we can say you're a great fighter, you know, you got to have the opponents to back up that skill. You got to have that resume. And that's where Taila Santos comes in. You know, she's a former UFC veteran. She's bringing experience and skills to the table. She's won all her fights. She's won all her fights here in the PFL, but she didn't run through them. She didn't run through them. It wasn't as easy as I thought or some other people thought. But you got to remember, Taila was fighting the winners of the tournament, right? You know, Dakota, on the other hand, she was fighting all the losers, where Taila, you know, she was fighting all the harder opponents at the time, you know, which stands for something. It definitely stands for something because that shows us that Taila was being tested and she was forced to adjust in certain situations, right? But with that being said, when you do look at this matchup, Dakota versus Taila, styles make fights. I'll be honest here. Styles make fights. And my honest take right now, I will say this. I am a little worried for Taila Santos in this fight. I am a little worried for her because when I look at it, even though she was tested and she's been coming out the winner, I haven't seen like this full-on change where she's been able to dominate or really learn from some of her mistakes. You know, I keep thinking she might let a lot of opportunities slip or put herself in trouble in this Dakota fight. And I'm just being honest because I'm going back to pre-UFC to the UFC to post-UFC. Like, I haven't seen like a great deal of changes in like defense or just like believing in her own power, things like that, right? Which I'll talk about here in a minute. I'm still not seeing that. So when I look at these two style matchups, you know, the striker versus grappler, I'm a little worried for her. I'm a little worried for her. But before I talk about that, first, let's look at Dakota, man. Dakota, look, I know a lot of people think I hate on her, but I'm not hating on Dakota. Look, y'all know I'm a striking fan first. I'm a boxing fan. So I admit, look, I think she's a solid striker. She's earning these knockouts. You know, she's earning these wins. Again, like I said, she's fun to watch. It's not like the judges are helping her. It's more like it's more so the matchmaking, right? But that's a different story. That's a different story. I'm not hating, all right? I do think she's a potential with good fundamentals, and that's what makes this Taila fight winnable for her. I haven't seen her crack under pressure for good reason yet, of course, the opponents. I'm not throwing the diss, I'm just joking. All right. She does cover her ground. She does cover her ground to be able to execute her style and that's what makes her dangerous. You know, I think she goes to the efforts of like Joanna and these other champions to make her style work and prepare for what her opponent is bringing. You know, of course, it hasn't been tested yet, but so far you see her as this striker in a fight. But in order to get that done, she's making sure that her takedown defense and, you know, the way she keeps her distance management, her clinch control, she makes sure all of that is covered to stick to what she wants to do, right? So she's not just this one-dimensional fighter. I will say that, right? She's not this particular one-dimensional fighter. She's still covering other grounds, you know? So it's just she's really making it work for her by continuing to work with grapplers and understanding the fundamentals of grappling, because that's a skill set in its own. You know, takedown defense is a skill set in its own. And even learning grappling without having to grapple, you know, that's a skill set. Because say she's working with fighters on their judo, she's working on with fighters like Taylor Harrison, you know, who helps her work on her judo and work on her like her cage wrestling and her grappling and her ground game all together, right? Even though she's not fully using it in fights on her own, she's learning it so she understands what her opponents are up to and what they're about to try to pull on her in a fight, like when they're going to come at her with a takedown, you know. So that's a skill set in its own for her, you know. So I think she's going to that effort to learn everything just so she can stick to what makes her look good on the feet, right? So yeah, of course, you know, she's going to be tested in this fight. You know, she's against the biggest, strongest opponent on her resume to date. But Dakota isn't small. You know, Dakota isn't small, and if her strength is used right in this fight in certain areas, it could be trouble. It could be trouble for Taila. Long reach, the height, the power, again, the takedown defense. But again, it's all going to be tested in this fight. It's going to be tested. Like if she gets hit with something big, how will she react? When she gets taken down big, like Jenna Bishop did to her, how would she react? How would she react to not be able to rock Taila Santos? Things like that, right? I think her mental game is going to be tested. But at the same time, I think that Dakota, even though we haven't seen a lot of that, I'm gonna be honest, I think she is the type of fighter that will do okay under pressure. And, I might be jumping the gun. Of course, I'm not saying she's champion yet in the UFC or something, but I can say that, like, she seems like she has everything covered. Like, she knows how to deal with pressure. Her mom was a fighter, and now she's a fighter. So she comes from a line of fighters, so I think it's just in that mentality where, somebody like Dakota, she won't buckle whenever she gets taken down multiple times in like 2 or 3 rounds. She'll keep fighting to the end. Even like fighters like Aaron Blanchfield, even though they're outgunned, they'll keep on fighting. And I see that in some of Dakota's performances, and the work ethic too. When you combine those two things, it's like she wants to get better. It's like she wants to get better and she wants to do her job well, not just for the fans, but for herself. So I just see a lot of those little things. I know a lot of people don't think I mentioned that enough, but yeah, that's the stuff that I have been seeing behind the scenes with Dakota. Now, going back to Taila Santos, again, she definitely has the names on the resume. She's definitely been doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the matchup in this fight. But the question is, has she learned from the heavy lifting? I'm not being hard on Taila. I'm just being honest. Look, has she learned from the heavy lifting? Has she learned how not to get a hernia or strain herself? That's how you got to look at it. Like, she's doing heavy lifting, but is she hurting her back? Is she blowing her back out? Is she getting hernias from this thing? That's how you got to look at it. Because, Santos, she has a lot of good skills and attributes, but sometimes I think she makes fights harder for herself. And she just does these little less adjustments and kind of goes through the motions sometimes and makes fights a little too hard for herself in there. And that's why Dakota could be dangerous for her, man, because she might come in with a game plan to take Dakota down, but what about having to stand with her for a few minutes around? How do you plan on hurting Dakota? How do you plan on breaking her down? And how do you plan on making her fatigue? Like, you just can't run in head first and think, take her down. Like, I got to keep on chasing her, trying to chase her down until you wear yourself down. So I know that Taila Santos has these other attributes about her. I know she has the other skill sets, but sometimes I feel like she just doesn't perfect them. She's not perfecting them, like her stand-up game, especially her defense, man. Like, Tyler's been getting hit with some big shots, and I'm still not sure she's fully recovered from the Valentina Shevchenko fight. That war wound was horrible. The broken orbital bone. That thing takes time, and if you don't get surgery on it, it's really never going to be the same. So just little things like that. I want to see Taila Santos improving her stand-up defense. And, she's come so far that you got to say at some point, look, you got to move your head in there. You got to move your head, and you got to be smart with your own strikes. Taila Santos, she's got power and good shots. She herself has good body shots. So I don't understand, like, who's her boxing coach right now? Like, why is Taila not throwing more left hooks to the body, even being a little bit more confident in her stand-up and her calf kicks? This girl is thick, like, when she throws calf kicks, she could be really chopping girls down. So when I look at Taila Santos in a fight with Dakota, her calf kicks would be effective on Dakota, So you got to have some level of striking fundamentals to stand with this striker until you get to the point that you break her down enough to get on the inside and have your way with her as far as fighting on the ground, So I see a lot of good in Taila that could help her win this fight. But then, man, I just look at that Aaron fight again. I look at the Aaron fight, and I'm like, dang, man, like, she only shined for the first round with a stand-up game. But from there, she couldn't really do much. Like, her strength and, her ground game wasn't even enough to dominate Aaron. So, I'm a little worried. I just got to be honest, man, because this is a 5-round fight. And Tyler's got to be smarter than she ever has been before, So I hope they're not underestimating Dakota. Like, Dakota may have been, she may have been fighting lesser opponents, girls that probably will never be in the UFC, but I think Dakota has been handling it like she's supposed to. Like, in order to look like somebody that belongs in the UFC, you got to destroy these other girls and make them like they don't belong in the UFC, right? So I think Dakota's been doing what she's supposed to be doing, but Taila, on the other hand, as far as her improvements, I haven't seen enough to make me say she's just going to walk through Dakota. I'm going to be honest, right? I think with the level that she's been fighting at, more and more I start to think it just kind of evens out here. It's starting to just even out. It's not going to look like a fight where Tyler's just going to school this overrated, undefeated fighter who's just been fed tomato cans or something like that. It's not looking like that at all anymore. It's starting to really look like an even fight now, which it shouldn't when you're thinking of Taila Santos. Because let's say if it was Valentina, you know, you would already say, okay, Valentina's going to win this fight. You know what I mean? Like, you would already say Valentina's on this level to beat Dakota. But when you look at Taila Santos, who had left the UFC not because of a horrible record or horrible losses, you should be able to say, oh, yeah, she's going to wash Dakota. She's going to wash her. But no, I think that with some of the lack of discipline and improvements in Taila, it's going to bring her down a little bit to the level of Dakota, who's hungry and smart and a dangerous striker and has a killer instinct, you know. So with her killer instinct, bringing her confidence up, there it is. There's a scale, y'all. I don't think it's tipping on either side. I think it's just starting to balance out. And in some people's minds and maybe a little mine, it might start to tip a little bit towards Dakota. But we'll see. We'll see, man. I think it's going to be a good fight, though. I will say this. I kind of see it play out as like a lower level Joanna versus Claudia. You know, Joanna versus Claudia Gadelha. You know, kind of feels like that type of it kind of feels like that type of a fight, you know, because we're going to have the strong striker that wants to stand, and we're going to have Taila, who's going to be the big, strong grappler who can hit, and is going to be strong early on, but I don't know if she's going to make the right adjustments, either that or she might get winded. For Taila's sake, I hope she's not Claudia in this one. I hope she's not. I hope she's her own fighter and makes the right improvements. But guys, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. This is some WMMA talk for y'all's ears right here. What do y'all think of this fight? Dakota, Taila early on. This ain't my full-on prediction, but I just wanted to kind of size these two up just like I did with Manon and Valentina and give my honest take. Look at the good and the bad here. I'll start doing more of these if y'all want me to. Hit that thumbs up. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.